Nobody paid attention to her when she walked into the base. Just another fresh recruit. They thought Dot just another soldier with no story, no rank, no weight to her presence. And yet, one small thing made her different. What city are you watching from today? On her forearm, just above the pulse, was a small ink-marked spider. Some laughed at it. Some called it creepy. Some ignored it, but none of them understood the truth. That spider was a sign, a silent symbol of something much greater, a secret few ever lived to. Witness Dot, this is her story, the story of how a woman nobody. Notice changed everything. Dot, she arrived just after dawn, walking in with her duffel bag slung over one shoulder. Her steps were quiet, unhurried, confident. Not cocky, but grounded, awake, aware. The kind of presence you couldn't help but glance at twice, even if you didn't know why. Her name was Liana Kane. She didn't correct anyone if they mispronounced it. She let people think what they wanted. She registered like any other recruit. Signed in, collected her badge and temporary quarters card. Nobody bothered to look closely. The duty sergeant stamped her paperwork, marked her bunk number, and slid it across without comment. Spider tattoo, huh? He said, more to fill silence. She only nodded once. The remark faded into the morning hum of boots on concrete. Intercoms calling names and shouts of orders. No one knew that she'd already been there before. Just not like this. The base was a sprawling, aging fortress, still heavy with the scent of metal and oil, and always alive with the rumbling of transport trucks or aircraft passing overhead. It sat at the edge of a dry valley with thin gatherings of trees just outside the fences. Patrolled day and night, recruits were everywhere, some marching, some carrying supplies, some scrambling to avoid a drill sergeant's wrath. They moved unsettled, wet under the collar, trying to find where they belonged, trying to figure out how not to screw up. Liana blended in perfectly. She spoke little, listened a lot, and observed everything. And though nobody noticed her, she noticed them, every pattern, every flaw, every habit. She met her bunkmates, 3 younger women and 1 older staff sergeant, who didn't bother hiding her annoyance at having to share space. They exchanged names. She smiled politely, but said nothing else. That night, the stories began. What's with the ink? One asked. You a tattoo junkie? No, she replied. Is it a prison symbol? Another joked. No. Must be some wild story, the staff sergeant said. Looks like the kind of tattoo someone regrets. Liana only shook her head gently. No regrets. They let it go. But over the next days, interest spread. A spider. Dead center of her forearm. Delicate strokes. Almost realistic. A single thread of web trailing toward her. Elbow. Some recruits created stories. Maybe she ran with a crime. Syndicate. Maybe it meant she killed someone in. Self-defense. Maybe it was just edgy. Art. Liana ignored the whispers. She showed up early. Trained hard. Followed orders better than most. Not perfectly, but with discipline and intent. Something about her made others uneasy, but they didn't know why. It began during a hand-to-hand combat drill. One recruit, loud, muscular, eager to impress, challenged her during sparring practice. He smirked as they circled. Want me to go easy on you? He said, no. She moved first. It was over in 3 seconds. He was flat on his back, gasping, blinking up at her hand, offered to help him up. Nobody laughed, but from that moment on, they watched her. They noticed how she walked, how she looked at the training field before stepping onto it. Not with fear, not with hesitation, with familiarity. She was never reckless, never showy. She simply understood the rhythm. One morning, during weapons inspection, one corporal swore she'd assembled and reassembled her rifle faster than any recruit he'd ever seen. What was your unit before this? He finally asked, trying to sound casual. I haven't served here before, she said. Without blinking. It was the truth. Just not the whole truth. Days turned into weeks. Mockery shifted into curiosity, and curiosity turned into unease. She was always calm, always alert, always ready, like someone who tasted war already and kept the memory close. Some recruits avoided her, afraid of something they couldn't name. Others tried to get close but found themselves blocked. Not rudely, just quietly. There was a distance she didn't let anyone cross. And always, that tattoo. The spider, sitting quietly on her forearm, its legs stretched like it might crawl if she moved the wrong way. One night, someone finally asked, "Why a spider?" She paused, then spoke slowly. "It reminds me of what waits in the dark." Then she stopped talking. They didn't ask again. But everything changed one afternoon on the shooting range. A group of higher-ranked officers visited for inspection. Rumor had it the commander himself was among them. Tension rippled through the base. Packs of soldiers lined up in uniform rows, rifles ready, boots polished. Everything had to be perfect. They didn't see Liana at first, kneeling at a distant bench, cleaning her weapon alone. One lieutenant, young and sharp-mouthed, wandered near her and paused. He was with a group of field officers who were laughing about something unimportant, something that made them forget courtesy. His eyes flicked to the ink on her arm. "Arachnid Club, huh?" he said with a crook grin. She didn't react. He stepped closer. "That your spirit animal or something, soldier?" "No," she replied quietly. "It's something I earned." Laughter from his companions. "Earned? Like a badge? Didn't know spiders gave rank." She didn't smile. He rolled his eyes and walked off. But the moment he left, the commander stepped quietly into view. He had heard everything. The other officers didn't notice his eyes sharpen. They didn't see the way his face went pale before he masked it again. He saw. Her saw the tattoo. And he knew. That night, whispers spread like wildfire. One soldier said the commander stopped speaking mid-sentence when he saw her. Another swore he saw them exchange a silent nod, like they'd known each other for years. Nobody knew what it meant. Nobody understood until 2 days later. When the truth revealed itself. It was during a sudden inspection. Group of officers and the base commander marched straight toward the assembly grounds. Every soldier snapped into formation. Most stood, shoulders tense, eyes forward. But Liana did not. She didn't speak. She didn't salute. She simply stood quietly, calm. Commander stopped in front of her, looked her dead in the eye, and without a word, he saluted her, not casually, not sideways, a full formal military salute. Silence rolled through the troops like a shockwave. Even the wind seemed to pause. Her bunkmates froze. Drill sergeants blinked in disbelief. The lieutenant who mocked her, white as sheet. They had never seen a commander salute first, especially not to someone without rank on her sleeve. Liana didn't move for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly and returned the salute. Commander's voice was steady, but deep, controlled, almost reverent. "Welcome back, ma'am." And then the nightmare truth ran through the crowd like electric fire. She outranked them, all of them. Her file had been sealed, her identity cloaked in old records and classified papers. She wasn't just a recruit. She was once LT, Commander Liana Kane, former leader of Shadow Unit 9, a covert strike team few ever heard of. And fewer survived. Her spider tattoo wasn't decoration. It was the mark of her unit, the silent, clandestine warriors known as Widow's Web, named for their ability to infiltrate and strike silently. To disappear and leave no trace. To capture information and outmaneuver enemies in ways normal soldiers couldn't even imagine. Every altercation, every glare she ignored, every smirk she let pass. She existed outside the chain of ego, but not outside the chain of command. She had been there when nobody noticed. She had watched every move, every misstep, every weakness, and now they understood why. She had been sent to test them. To measure the soul of the base. to see if it was worthy of the mission ahead. That night, she spoke for the first time to a group of stunned recruits. The truth of her words settled into their bones like iron. Rank is a shadow, she said. You cannot see it, but it follows you. How you speak, how you move, how you carry your failures. What matters isn't what others see, but what you refuse to let go. She raised her arm, and if you've earned something, like this mark, you don't need to explain it. Someone finally asked, "What happened to your team?" She closed her eyes briefly. We completed our mission. Her voice softened. Weighed by ghosts, and we didn't all make it back. From then on, nobody ever joked about the spider again. Training change. Not by her order, but by their own. They worked harder, paid attention, understood silence with new respect, because now they knew. She saw everything long before they did, and every step they took was being measured not for perfection, but for heart. She became their quiet mentor, the one they asked without asking, the one they followed without needing praise. Some moved forward because of her influence. Others fell away under the pressure of knowing who she truly was. But one thing remained constant. Every time someone thought to give up, they remembered how she walked into the base, alone, unrecognized, and unmoved by doubt. A woman with a spider tattoo, a tattoo carved not in ink alone, but in sacrifice. Years later, they still told her story not because of the things she said, but because of the things she didn't need to. And every soldier who passed through that training base swore they worked harder because of the whisper of her presence, because they never knew if the person cleaning a rifle quietly at the end of the bench carried a shadow far greater than their eyes could see.